The blue holographic display in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered as thousands of delegates from across the known universe shifted nervously in their seats. The emergency session had been called with unusual urgency, and rumors spread through the assembly like wildfire. Delegate Tejo stood at the central podium, his tall frame casting a long shadow. His silvery robes, marking him as a senior council member, reflected the soft light as he adjusted the translator at his throat. "Esteemed representatives of the 5,000 worlds," he began, his voice calm yet somehow conveying the gravity of the situation. "We face an unprecedented situation that requires immediate action." The murmurs died down as Tejo activated the main display. A holographic image of a small blue-green planet appeared, rotating slowly. "Earth," he stated simply, "home to the species known as humans." Ambassador Jiwoo stepped forward, her elegant features set in a serious expression. As the diplomatic representative of the luminous Concord, her words carried significant weight. "As many of you know, humans joined our galactic community only 30 standard cycles ago. They were welcomed despite their relatively primitive technology. What you may not know is that our intelligence services have been monitoring their adaptation to galactic society with growing concern." The display shifted to show various human innovations, modifications to standard galactic technology that appeared crude but surprisingly effective. "Humans have demonstrated an alarming ability to repurpose our peaceful technologies for potential combat applications," Jiwoo continued. "Their entire history is marked by constant warfare among themselves. They have developed more ways to fight than any other known species." The display showed historical images from Earth: ancient warriors with primitive weapons, medieval armies, modern military forces, and finally, their early space defense systems. Tejo raised his hand as concerned. Whispers spread through the chamber. "This brings us to the current situation. The conflict between the Viridian Collective and the Axiom Dominion has escalated beyond diplomatic resolution. Both powers have begun seeking allies. Our proposal is simple but essential," Jiwoo added. "We must issue a galactic advisory. Keep humans away from this war at all costs." A delegate from the Outer Rim stood up. "Isn't this an overreaction? Humans have shown no aggression toward other species." Tejo nodded. "That is true. But consider this. Humans have no natural predators on their world. Their creativity in warfare comes from fighting each other. Now imagine those same minds applying that creativity against an external threat." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. "We issue this advisory not out of fear of humans themselves," Jiwoo clarified, "but out of concern for what they might become if drawn into a major conflict. Both the Viridians and the Axiom would seek to use humans as weapons, not knowing they cannot be controlled once unleashed." The council voted nearly unanimously to issue the advisory. Within hours, the message was transmitted across all standard communication channels throughout the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, Director Sunmi of the United Nations Space Command received the transmission in her office overlooking the Pacific Ocean. She read it twice, her expression darkening with each word. "This is ridiculous," she said, turning to General Ki-hyun, who stood by the window. "They speak of us as if we're some kind of virus to be contained." Ki-hyun, a veteran of Earth's final world war before unification, shook his head slowly. "They fear what they don't understand. We've adapted to their technology faster than any species in recorded history." "Because we had to," Sunmi replied. "Our planet was dying. Space was our only option." The door opened and a young officer entered with a data pad. "Director, we're receiving reports that both the Viridians and the Axiom are ignoring the advisory. Their recruitment vessels have been spotted near our outer colonies." Sunmi's eyes narrowed. "So it begins. Despite all their warnings, they still can't resist trying to use us." She turned to face the large map of human territory, small compared to the vast empires of the older species but growing steadily. "Implement Protocol Watchman," she ordered. "I want all colonial defense forces on alert. No engagement, but full monitoring of any non-human vessels entering our space." As the officer hurried out, Ki-hyun moved to stand beside her. They believe we're dangerous because we've spent our history fighting each other, he said quietly. They have no idea what we're capable of when we stand together. Sun Mi nodded grimly. Let's hope they never have to find out. Outside the window, the lights of unified Earth glowed against the darkness, peaceful for now but ready. Lieutenant Commander Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the patrol ship Sejong, watching the stars drift past the view screen. The small vessel hummed quietly as it patrolled the border of human space near the Orion Drift. It was their third month of routine patrol duty, and most of the crew had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Commander, I'm picking up a distress signal, Officer Ji-yeon said suddenly, her fingers moving quickly across her console. It's from the medical transport Mercy. They're transmitting on all emergency channels. Do-hyun moved to her station, peering at the data. Location? Just beyond the drift, sir. They've crossed into the disputed territory. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The disputed territory was the flashpoint between the Viridian Collective and the Axiom Dominion. The growing conflict between the two powers had triggered the Galactic Council's advisory about keeping humans away. Play the distress call, Do-hyun ordered. A scratchy voice filled the bridge. This is Medical Transport Mercy requesting immediate assistance. We are under attack by Viridian vessels. We carry wounded civilians from multiple species. Please help. The transmission cut off abruptly. Officer Minho at the tactical station looked up. Sir, our orders are clear. We're to maintain neutrality in the conflict. Do-hyun nodded slowly. I'm aware of our orders, officer. He walked back to his command chair and sat down, his face expressionless. How long would it take us to reach their position? 12 minutes at maximum speed, Ji-yeon replied. And the nearest Galactic Council vessel? At least 3 hours away, sir. Do-hyun closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, his decision was made. Set course for the Mercy, maximum speed. As the Sejong changed direction, Do-hyun opened the shipwide communication channel. This is the commander. We are responding to a distress call from a medical transport. This is a rescue mission only. Prepare for potential hostile contact. The small human ship raced through space, its engines pushing beyond recommended limits. When they dropped out of faster-than-light travel, the scene before them confirmed their worst fears. 3 Viridian warships surrounded the medical transport. The Mercy was clearly damaged, with one section open to space. The Viridian vessels were methodically targeting the remaining intact sections. They're executing the medical staff, Ji-yeon whispered, horror clear in her voice as she monitored communications. They're claiming the Mercy was transporting Axiom spies. Do-hyun's face hardened. Tactical analysis. Minho looked grim. The Viridian ships outgun us 3-1, sir. Each carries weapons that could cut through our shields in seconds. Engineer. Junho, Do-hyun called through the ship's comm. Remember that modification you were working on? The one using mining explosives to create an electromagnetic pulse? Yes, Commander, came the reply. But it's untested. It might disable our systems as well. How long to prepare it? 2 minutes if we bypass safety protocols. Do it, Do-hyun ordered. Then to Ji-yeon. Open a channel to the Viridian ships, the main view screen flickered to life, showing a Viridian commander, his scaled face regarding them with contempt. Human vessel, the Viridian said. This is none of your concern. Leave immediately. This is Lieutenant Commander Do-hyun of the Earth vessel Sejong. You are attacking a neutral medical transport in violation of galactic law. Cease fire immediately. The Viridian commander laughed. Your species has no standing to invoke galactic law. Final warning, leave or be destroyed. The transmission cut off. Do-hyun turned to his tactical officer. Are the explosives ready? Yes, sir. Engineer Junho says to warn you the pulse will only disable their shields for 20 seconds at most. That's all we need. Do-hyun's hands flew across his command panel. Deploy the pulse. Target their weapon systems the moment their shields drop. Then get the Mercy out of there. The next 15 minutes were chaos. The pulse worked better than expected, momentarily disabling all 3 Viridian ships' shield systems. The Sejong, though smaller, struck with surgical precision, disabling the weapons on 2 vessels before the third could recover. As the Viridians regrouped, the Sejong extended its own shields around the damaged medical transport and pulled it away from the battlefield. "We've got them, sir," Jian reported. 142 survivors aboard the Mercy, including medical staff from 12 different species. Do-Yun nodded, relief visible on his face. "Get us back to human space. Maximum speed." What none of them realized was that the entire engagement had been captured by the Mercy's automatic recording systems. Within hours, the footage began spreading across galactic communication channels, showing a small human ship rescuing a medical transport against impossible odds. The incident that the Galactic Council had feared had finally happened. Humanity had entered the war. The hologram of Counselor Taiho flickered as it materialized in the center of the United Nations Space Command conference room. His expression was stern, his posture rigid with diplomatic formality. Around the long obsidian table, Earth's military and political leaders sat in silence, waiting. Director Sunmi rose from her seat, her dark uniform perfectly pressed, her face revealing nothing of her thoughts. "Counselor Taiho," she said with a respectful nod. "The UNSC welcomes your communication." The holographic alien figure looked around the room before fixing his gaze on Sunmi. "This is not a courtesy call, Director. Your commander Do-Hyun has violated the neutrality agreement that Earth signed upon joining the galactic community." General Ki-hyun shifted in his seat, but remained silent as Sunmi replied. "The Sejong responded to a distress call from a medical transport under attack. Such vessels are protected under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter, which supersedes any neutrality agreements. The Viridians claim the vessel was transporting Axiom operatives," Taiho countered. "Claims made while executing medical personnel," Sunmi said, her voice still calm but edged with steel. "We have reviewed the Mercy's logs. There were no Axiom operatives aboard, only wounded civilians from the border worlds." Taiho's hologram flickered again. "Regardless of the circumstances, the Council fears this incident will escalate. Both the Viridians and the Axiom now see humans as potential allies, or enemies." Meanwhile, light years away, Lieutenant Commander Do-Yun stood on the bridge of the Sejong as it docked at Outpost Hansong for repairs. The engagement with the Viridian warships had left the small patrol ship with moderate damage to its port, side and depleted shield generators. "Commander," Officer Jian called from her station. "We're receiving a transmission on a secure channel. It's from the Axiom Dominion." Do-Hyun frowned. "Put it through to my private quarters. I'll take it there." In his small cabin, Do-Hyun activated the communication panel. The image that appeared showed an Axiom representative, its crystalline features catching the light. "Commander Do-Hyun," the Axiom said, its translated voice surprisingly melodic. "I am Envoy Prel of the Axiom Dominion. Your actions at the Orion Drift have caught our attention." Do-Hyun remained expressionless. "I was fulfilling my duty to protect innocent lives." "Indeed, and you displayed remarkable tactical innovation. The Axiom Dominion values such qualities." The alien figure leaned closer to the screen. "We believe an alliance with humanity would be beneficial to both our peoples." Before Do-Hyun could respond, a violent explosion rocked the ship. Warning alarms blared as the lights flickered and died, replaced by the red glow of emergency systems. "Commander," Jian's voice came through his communicator. "We've been boarded. Viridian assassins somehow bypassed station security. Her voice cut off with a cry of pain. Do-Hyun grabbed his sidearm and rushed from his quarters. In the corridor, he found 2 of his crew already down, their bodies still. Moving silently, he made his way toward the bridge, encountering a Viridian assassin at the junction. The alien was tall, with scaled skin and 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. The fight was brief but brutal. Do-Hyun was injured but managed to overpower the assassin. As he reached the bridge, he found Officer Minho defending the wounded, Jian against another attacker. Together they subdued the second Viridian, but not before a third crew member fell. Station security arrived minutes later, surrounding the Sejong with armed guards. The surviving Viridian assassins were taken into custody, but the damage was done. 3 human crew members were dead. Back on Earth, the news of the attack spread quickly. The Viridian ambassador was summoned to the UNSC headquarters in Seoul, where Director Sunmi received him in the same conference room where Taiho's hologram had stood hours before. "Your government has committed an act of war," she said simply, her voice ice-cold. "Assassins on a docked vessel killing unarmed crew members." The Viridian ambassador's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of discomfort in his species. The actions were not sanctioned by the collective. A rogue military faction. "Save your excuses," Sunmi interrupted. "Your government has issued an ultimatum demanding the surrender of Commander Do-hyun for his crimes against Viridian vessels. Now your assassins have killed 3 of our people." She slid a datapad across the table. "This is Earth's response to your ultimatum." The ambassador read the short message displayed on the screen, his eyes widening. He looked up at Sunmi in disbelief. "This will mean war," he said quietly. Sunmi stood, her expression unchanging. "Your government should have considered that before attacking our people. The message stands: an attack on one human is an attack on all." As the ambassador departed, General Ki-hyun approached Sunmi at the window overlooking the city. "Are we ready for this?" he asked softly. Sunmi watched as lights began to come on across Seoul as evening fell. "They think they know what humans are capable of," she replied. "They're about to learn how wrong they are." Deep beneath the surface of Seoul, in a facility unknown to most of humanity, Admiral Minjae stood before a circular table. Around her, 20 of Earth's top military leaders watched as she placed her palm on the scanner in the center. "Voice recognition required," the system announced. "Admiral Minjae authorization Thermopylae Alpha 9. The table's surface came alive with holographic displays, showing star maps, fleet positions, and data streams from across human space. "Protocol. Thermopylae is now active," she announced, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "For those of you who weren't part of its development, this is our contingency plan for asymmetric warfare against technologically superior forces." General Ki-hyun, who had just arrived from the UNSC headquarters, took his place at the table. "The Viridian Collective has rejected our final communication. Their response was to deploy a battle group toward our colony on Proxima Centauri b." A murmur ran through the assembled officers. Proxima Centauri was Earth's first extrasolar colony, home to nearly 3 million people. "How many ships?" asked Colonel Hyejin, head of tactical operations. 17 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts," Ki-hyun replied. "They're calling it a punitive expedition to capture Commander Do-hyun and any humans who aided him." "Admiral," Minjae nodded grimly. "They expect us to either surrender him or prepare for conventional defense." Her finger traced a path through the star map. "They don't understand that we've been preparing for this scenario since first contact." She turned to Colonel Hyejin. "Present your analysis." Hyejin stepped forward, her movements crisp and efficient. She activated a new display showing recordings of Viridian military engagements. "We've analyzed every recorded Viridian battle for the past 30 years, she explained. "Their tactics are consistently built around overwhelming force and predictable attack patterns. They've never faced an enemy who employs asymmetric warfare." She zoomed in on a Viridian dreadnought. "Their ships are powerful but rely heavily on centralized systems. Their commanders are trained to follow strict protocols with little improvisation." "And our response?" asked an older general from the far end of the table. "Operation Hornets Nest," Minjae replied, bringing up a new tactical display. "Colonel Hyejin will coordinate from here while I join the defense fleet." The plan was daring in its simplicity. Rather than meeting the Viridian force in open space combat, where their superior technology would guarantee victory, the human defenders would use the environment of the Proxima Centauri system itself as a weapon. 3 days later, as the Viridian punitive expedition arrived at Proxima Centauri b, they expected to find either a surrendering colony or a small defense force they could easily overwhelm. Instead, they found their communications jammed by simple but effective devices hidden throughout the asteroid belt. Their sensors were confused by thousands of small decoys emitting false signatures. When the Viridian commander ordered landing parties to secure the main colony, they encountered mining equipment retrofitted with military-grade shields. Colonists, using handheld tools modified to disrupt Viridian armor systems, ambushed them at every turn. Aboard the Viridian flagship, Commander Zelthrak stared in disbelief at the tactical displays. 3 of her ships were already disabled, not by direct attacks but by swarms of automated mining drones that attached themselves to hull plates and methodically cut through sensors and weapon systems. "How is this possible?" she demanded. "They're using mining equipment and obsolete shuttles. Where is their actual military?" Her tactical officer looked up from his station, his scales pale with stress. "That's just it, Commander. They're not using military vessels at all. They've turned their civilian infrastructure into weapons." A massive explosion rocked the flagship as a cargo hauler, loaded with mining explosives and piloted by a volunteer with a simple breathing mask, rammed into their main sensor array. "Retreat," Zelthrak ordered, her voice barely audible. "Get us out of this system." As the Viridian ships pulled back in disarray, Admiral Minji watched from the bridge of her command vessel. The human ship was smaller than even the smallest Viridian warship, but it had never needed to fire a single shot. "The Viridians are retreating, Admiral," reported her communications officer. "Colony casualties minimal. 7 volunteers lost in ramming operations." Minji nodded solemnly. "Send their names to Earth. They'll be honored for their sacrifice." She turned to look at the tactical display where the Viridian ships were limping away. "And send all battle data to Colonel Heejin. This was just the first engagement. In the darkness of space beyond the system's edge, observers from the Axiom Dominion watched with growing interest. The humans had just introduced the galaxy to a new form of warfare, one that neither great power had ever conceived. Their reports back to the Axiom leadership would contain one clear message. The Galactic Council's warning about humans had been right, but for all the wrong reasons. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from over 5,000 worlds filled every seat, with many standing in the back. The emergency session had stretched into its 3rd day, with tempers flaring and alliances shifting by the hour. In the center of the hall, Ambassador Jiwoo of the Luminous Concord stood calmly, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "The archives of the Luminous Concord date back 50,000 years, she said, activating a holographic display. "In that time, only once before have we encountered a species with characteristics similar to humans. They called themselves the progenitors." The display showed images of bipedal beings who indeed resembled humans in many ways. The progenitors rose quickly, adapted faster than any species before them, and when drawn into the conflicts of their time, they nearly destroyed galactic civilization, not through malice but through their unique approach to warfare. Murmurs spread through the assembly as delegates from the elder races nodded in recognition of the ancient history. "We issued our advisory not out of prejudice," Jiwoo continued, "but out of historical understanding. And now we face the consequences of ignoring that warning." In the 3 weeks since the battle at Proxima Centauri, the conflict had spread across the galaxy. The Viridian Collective, embarrassed by their defeat at human hands, had launched larger attacks against Earth's colonies. Each time, they were repelled by increasingly creative defensive measures that left their commanders baffled. Meanwhile, the Axiom Dominion had sent envoys to Earth, offering advanced weapons technology in exchange for human tactical advisors. The galaxy teetered on the edge of a war that threatened to engulf every species. On the upper level of the council chamber, the Viridian delegation huddled in tense discussion. Their military had suffered unexpected losses in what they had assumed would be a simple punitive action. Now, facing the prospect of a protracted conflict with a species that refused to fight by conventional rules, the collective's leadership was divided. "We should call for a ceasefire," whispered Senior Delegate Mokhtal to his colleagues, "before this escalates further." Across the chamber, Director Sunmi sat with the human delegation, her face betraying nothing of her thoughts. Beside her, Lieutenant Commander Do-hyun, now a reluctant symbol of human defiance, watched the proceedings with quiet intensity. As the council debated, a message arrived for Sunmi. She read it quickly, then leaned over to whisper to Do-hyun. He nodded once, his expression grave. Sunmi stood, requesting permission to address the council. When granted, she walked to the central podium, her steps measured and confident. The United Nations Space Command has authorized me to present Earth's terms for resolving this conflict, she announced. The chamber fell silent, all eyes turning to her. Many expected demands for territory, technology transfers, or other concessions typical of victorious powers. We demand no territory, Sunmi began, surprising many. We seek no reparations, no technological advantages, no special status. She activated her own display, showing images of the medical transport Mercy where the conflict had begun. Instead, we require absolute protection for all medical and civilian vessels throughout the galaxy, regardless of species or affiliation. We propose a joint peacekeeping force with representatives from all major powers to enforce this single, non-negotiable rule of warfare. The Viridian delegation looked at each other in confusion. This was not what they had expected. Furthermore, Sunmi continued, Earth offers to share our defensive innovations with any world that commits to these humanitarian principles. We did not seek this conflict, but we will use our position now to ensure that the innocent are protected in all future wars. 6 months later, Ambassador Taiho stood in the same spot where he had first proposed the advisory against human involvement. The chamber was quieter now, the crisis averted through what many considered a diplomatic miracle. The Galactic Council hereby updates its advisory regarding human involvement in interstellar conflicts, he announced formally. In case of armed conflict between any species, contact human mediators immediately, not as combatants, but as peacekeepers. After the session, Taiho found Jiwoo in one of the council's quiet gardens. You were right about them being dangerous, he said softly, but not in the way we thought. Jiwoo nodded, watching a holographic display showing the newly commissioned peacekeeping vessels. Each ship bore the emblem of the Galactic Medical Protection Corps, a symbol designed by Lieutenant Commander Do-hyun himself. The progenitors use their creativity for conquest, she replied. Humans use theirs to find unexpected paths to peace. Their greatest weapon was never their capacity for violence, but their stubborn insistence on finding better ways forward. Earth's orbit, Director Sunmi stood on the observation deck of the new headquarters for the Galactic Peacekeeping Command. Below her, the blue-green planet turned slowly, its nations united as never before by their new role in the galaxy. Was this your plan all along? General Ki-hyun asked as he joined her at the window. Sunmi smiled slightly. Not exactly, but we always understood something the older species forgot. After thousands of years of peace, they no longer remembered that those who know war best often desire peace most desperately. Together they watched as training ships, carrying officers from dozens of species, including both Viridian and Axiom, practiced formation flying against the backdrop of Earth's sunrise. The advisory had been right. Humans had changed the galaxy forever, just not in the way anyone had expected.